Okay, so this is gonna be the part three to the story time. Last part. So I don't remember where I left off, but I think I was talking about how. What was I talking about? Um, oh yeah, God's love and like how I see it now versus how I saw it, and having rules and stuff. How loving that is. Um, but what was I talking about in the actual story? Dang it. I knew I shouldn't have derailed. Anyways, what I last remember is um, the focus started to become on how are we going to find a ticket? How am I going to for us? How blah blah blah. And long story short, just like skipping ahead, there came this point where we, as it gets closer to the beginning of the concert, the quite a line has formed, and we walk by this couple. I'm walking with her because I had been doing laps around the building, just to like scope it out, and also just to not have to stand or sit too long. And since I did hear backdoor, I said, well, maybe there is some significance, but like I'm just gonna, um, look and just move on from there. Um, so I didn't stay in one place too long. And there was a couple that we passed at this point. I had decided to walk with her, and there was a couple that we had passed. My friend still hadn't gotten here yet, and I remember being like, we have made this agreement that we want to find tickets for each other, but then my friend, like, what, like, that's a whole other thing to this. So even if we do find tickets, like, what's gonna happen with my friend? So that was kind of in the back of my mind. Um, and I had said, so, oh, did I finish sharing the thing about we were at dinner and she kept sharing like these personal thoughts or whatever about this artist and or about his personal life, that I wasn't sure if it was true or false, but it wasn't for me to hear. And yeah, so that happened, and that, oh yeah, so okay, the feelings things, that's what it was. So even though like there's a whole other element that I just touched on about why I think he told me, not to connect with her, even though when he just told me that, he told me not to, I didn't get why, so I just ignored it, to be honest. Um, Part of it, I believe, was the feelings thing, because he knew that it was going to derail me, and he knew that it was going to um, cause me hurt and pain, and it's not his will, for us to be in these places where we're distressed, where we're worried, all this stuff. If he cares so much about us not worrying, like, why would he be okay with us being sad? Why would he be okay with us being depressed? Like, he does care, and I understand what people say when they mean like he doesn't care about your feelings, but he does. And I actually heard this really beautiful story, trying, again, not to go on too much of a tangent, but it was like this pastor that I follow, he was having a discussion with his wife, and he said like he has a way of speaking that's very like matter of fact, I guess. And he had said something that, um, or they had this conversation, and then they went away from the conversation, and the wife started praying and spoke to God and said like, that kind of like hurt my feelings or whatever the case was. She didn't tell the husband this though. She had just told God this. And then the next day, um, God pressed it on his heart to bring up the thing that he had said, or the conversation, I guess. And he had said, you know, I don't know, God like put this on my heart because I didn't I didn't think anything of it, but did I hurt your feelings? Like, when I said blah, 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 when we were having that discussion, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, yes, but the takeaway was that, like, God heard her and then took it to him, and it was just like, God was listening. Like, it's just so sweet. I don't know. Yeah, I love that. But yeah, he can definitely show up in that way, and I do think that, like, to a degree, he was trying to guard me, because that was my prayer in the first place. He's not gonna, like, just ignore that. Like, I asked to be guarded, and he tried his best, but did I listen? No, I did not. Anyways, so, we're walking, and we come across this couple, and I had told you that this lady, she had made this sign, and the guy said, hey, I saw your sign earlier that said you'd buy tickets. We don't want you to buy our tickets because something just came up where we're not going to be able to stay here anyways. So, we're just going to give you the tickets. And we were, like, looking at each other. We're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. Like, literally, he had said, like, we're just going to go in. I think they were going to get a drink or something, and then we're going to leave. And I was like, what? Like, how did that happen? Like, I was so shocked. Like, because I actually got to a point where, I was not asking around for me, but I was just trying to see if anyone else was, like, kind of in a similar position, if anyone else, like, didn't have a ticket, anything like that. And there were quite a few people. At this point, there was actually a line starting to form of people who didn't have tickets. And, or actually, yes, there was, I think, but I didn't know that at the time. And, so I was just like, I don't know, like, or actually, I didn't even notice the line or know what it was about, but yes, there was a line, and, so I just remember, being, like, so shocked. I was like, what are the chances, like, because there were other people, so I thought, like, how was I so lucky? Because I ignored the Lord. My thought was, that was from God, that was from God. That was a classic example of me misinterpreting and saying, like, people say, like, all things are from God. Like, no, not all things are from God. Like, and especially if it's outside of something that he's already said, like, do not partake in, whatever. So I got really excited, but then that excitement was kind of short-lived, because I remember being like, well, what about my friend? Like, I was thinking, well, maybe I could go in and then come out when she comes in, but how's that going to work if I can't get back in? Like, all these scenarios were playing through my mind, and I just remember being like, yay, I can't believe that happened. Like, just, I'm not sure how to take this, so, but she was, like, beaming, the other lady, she was beaming, and she's like, oh my gosh, like, it paid off, like, our hope paid off, our, like, ambition paid off, blah, 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 and I'm like, yeah, I guess, and so then I started to try and make that the blessing, because I was also so focused on, again, the idea of getting a ticket. That's really interesting. That's something I'm going to come back to, but it was like, I was so sure that it was going to be a ticket. I was so sure that I needed to, like, look for someone with a ticket, because that was the only way I was going to get in, right? So, help me, Holy Spirit. So I get kind of excited, and we're, like, trying to figure out a plan on how to exchange the tickets and not, like, get in trouble or anything like that. But I'm also, like, not feeling great about this, and I should have listened to that. Oh, I should have listened to that. So, and actually, wait, I forgot to say, this entire time, I was still hearing backdoor. Like, this is like wild how stupid I was. But I was still hearing backdoor. And I remember saying at one point to this person, I had said to this lady, I said, I think the way that I am going to get in will be through the back door. Because I had built a confidence, and like I'm still hearing this. Like I don't know. I'm I'm sorry. If I had listened to that, it would have changed the whole trajectory of this story. And going back to the idea that I've been given a prophetic word about this artist, it might have even I might have that might more of that might have come to pass, and I would be authorized to share more, but I didn't listen. So anyways, so you know, I'm trying to figure out like, okay, well, how am I gonna get my friend in? How's this gonna work? At this point, you know, we're figuring this out, and I'm just like, I'm 1 foot in this plan, 1 foot out, and then I start to notice like this really long line forming, and it's these people who don't have tickets, and I'm like, should I hop into that line? So just to show like this is when the enemy can just swoop in and just use anything when you're not firm in what you know that you know that you know. I wasn't even sure about, and that was probably more, had to do more with my friend and her needing a ticket still, but I wasn't even solidified in the fact of this plan. Like, I know they said they would give us the tickets. I know they said that they had something coming up, but what if they're like, we actually want to stay, or we're actually going to ask for some money, or something like that. I mean, you never know. So I wasn't even sure about that. When the Lord speaks, like, you are so sure that there's just no coming against it. It's like, no, he said this is what's going to happen. With these plans, I didn't feel that way. Did I listen to that? No, I did not. So, main theme is my hard-headedness. Love that for me. And so, at this point, you know, I'm seeing this line, and I'm like, oh, maybe I should hop in that line. Like, while it's still, there was a good amount of people already in the line, because it was forming all this time that I wasn't over here, that I didn't know. And I'm like, should I, like, if I hop in now, like, at least it won't be, like, super long, and I'm like, I don't really know what to do. Prayer. I should have. When I was thinking about this story, I thought about, it said that Jesus withdrew often to pray, and it's like, why did I not think about that? I don't know why. But anyways, so I'm like, I'm feeling really, really uneasy about things, and we decide to go to the store that was nearby to go to the bathroom, and to get. She was like, I need to get some tape and I need to get some scissors, and I'm like, okay, for the tickets, because they were wristbands, and the whole time I'm just kind of like not at peace, basically, and I've already spoken about this. Let peace be your guide. Like, the Lord speaks through peace. He absolutely does. When you have peace about things, oftentimes the Lord is speaking through it. I'm going to say all times, but oftentimes. Anyways, so the entire time I'm feeling like, yeah, iffy. And then I start to really feel, actually, a little bit frustrated. And this wasn't right, because I don't know, I feel like I was kind of like projecting a little bit, and because we had went in and we couldn't really find the tape of the scissors, so we were just like looking around, like wandering around basically, and I'm like, I don't feel like, oh, this like, no, this is not right. And why did I not stop and listen? Don't ask me. But I remember just feeling like I need to go to that back door. I don't know why, but I need to go back to that back door. So eventually, we make it out of there, and I go to the back door because I'm like, I have to. Like, I don't know why, but I have to. And I left this out. So there was a group that started to form in the back door, or near the back door, and they all didn't have tickets as well. And they were a group of, like, I don't know, like maybe 7 or 8 people or so, and they were all super friendly, super nice, super awesome people. And I was like, oh, this is a vibe back here. I like this. Like, I'll just stay back here. And like, just because you could also hear like their sound check very well. Like, you knew it would be like a good place to be. And this was earlier when I had like done some laps around, and they had said like, oh, like, yeah, we're all gonna hang out here. Like, we don't have tickets, so we know we're not getting in. Like, we're just gonna hang out here and have fun and just vibe. And I'm like, oh, that sounds so nice. Like, I might be back here very soon. I'm gonna see if there's any way, because I started to become like this ambassador for trying to find tickets for everyone. Don't ask me why. This is why it's like, you can be doing a good thing and think you're doing a noble thing and think you're doing a good thing, but it's not what God has. It's not part of God's plan. It's not what God has ordained for you, and you're just wasting time, honestly. And so, at this point, I go to the back door, and they're all like, oh my gosh, like, they were literally so nice. Like, shout out to them. They're the best. But they were like, oh my gosh, like, you missed it. And they were, like, nice about this. It wasn't, like, in a rude kind of way, but they were like, you missed it. Like, the artist came out, and he, like, took a picture with us, and I think he might have signed some stuff. And, I said, okay, I feel like I'm gonna give it away but, I'm trying my best not to. But I just remember them, like, being all excited, and they're like, oh my gosh, it was so great. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy for you. I wasn't personally seeking that, so I was fine. Like, I was genuinely happy for them. It wasn't just me, like, saying that. I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I just missed them. Like, it wasn't like that. It was a little bit like that, but, and I remember, like, yeah, just them saying that and being like, dang, if I had just stayed back here, it'd be a different thing. And this is why I say, because I've been given a prophetic word about him, I say, like, the trajectory of things might have, I don't 100% know this for sure, but I would never know, because if I was at the back door, I don't know. Anyways, I'm a fool. So at that point, I still don't get it together. I still don't say, like, okay, this is where I need to stay. But that was due to, that was actually due to the fact that I was still trying to hold on to this whole ticket idea, and this idea that this was how I was going to get in. So, at this point, I think they're starting to kind of let people in, and then my friend shows up, and I'm telling her, like, the whole thing, and my, like, body is kind of like, I don't know how to explain it, but, like, I'm feeling, or it's like I was gravitating towards wanting to go to the back door. For no other reason, everyone was super friendly, and, like, it was just, like, fun, and they were like, we're just gonna hang out here the whole time, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Excuse me, cool, like, you're not gonna, like, try and leave or anything like that. And they're like, no, we want to stay and then just enjoy it here. I'm like, oh man, you guys are so fun. But I'm telling her all these plans, I'm telling her, okay, so I'm trying to figure out if there's a ticket situation that we both can get in with the wristband or whatever the case, whatever. And she's like, her and I are both trying to, like, weigh our options. I'm like, I kind of want to go in the back, but, I'll listen to what you have to say. Again, going back to the do not be unequally yoked. when the Lord speaks, you listen, and when He is giving you something, you hold on to that. And in this situation, like, these other people, they weren't hearing from the Lord, so they weren't aware of what I was experiencing and what I was hearing and what I knew was honestly the right thing to do in this. So they were going off of logic, and I had gotten the ticket. I had it on my wrist, and we're like trying to figure out. We're like, how is this gonna work? And it all became about the ticket. It all became about that, and that was, if I didn't make it clear, that was the other main reason why I believe the Lord said, do not talk to this person, because she is basically going to derail you. And obviously not intentionally or anything like that, but because she thought that she was helping me. I thought that she was helping me, but I was being disobedient. So, I'm giving her the scoop, and we're like deliberating. We're spending like 10, 15 minutes like trying to figure out something. The line with the ticketless people is getting longer. Meanwhile, the people are still in the back, and I'm like, maybe we go back. But for anyone, I think it would be really like, well, if we go to the back, we're giving up. You know, that doesn't really like bode well for us. Because at the very least, there's this line forming, so it does seem that they are going to potentially like start letting people in. I digress. Anyways, so we literally are wasting time deliberating. And she gets this idea. It's actually really a genius idea. It wasn't the thing to do, but it was kind of funny because it was a wristband. She said, what if we, and we both were wearing long sleeves, she's like, what if we split it in half and only show like a little, like, if that makes sense. So it was like this whole thing, and then we'd split it in the center, and then like we would show just like a little bit of it. I thought it was really clever. And so I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Another theme here is when you try and make these hack job of plans, they're not going to work when the Lord already has a plan for you. And I feel like this is actually going back to my last video, not within this series, but the last video that I posted. You know, I've gone off on my own, but, you know, I've said, like, I'm going to follow you, and I'm trying all these hack jobs of plans, and they're not working, and there's a reason why. Thank you, Lord. Sorry, I'm just frustrated with myself. So, again, that takes us another, like, 10 or 15 minutes to try and, like, figure out not only, like, exactly how to, like, physically, like, make it look believable, but also, like, how we're gonna walk in there, our disposition, and then like the like if we get questioned, like what we're gonna say, and all this, like, gosh. And at this point, no, the concert hadn't started yet, but it's getting like, or actually, it might have, like with the opener, it might have started by now. I can't remember, but our plan was, we're gonna wait until like at least the opener has, if the opener wasn't on, like at least till then, because we want to not, I don't know actually why we decided that, but we just said like we're gonna wait until things die down a little bit. And I'm having hope in this, but I'm looking at the other line, and I'm thinking about the back door, and I'm like, I just don't even know what to do or think or feel. So I remember, you know, the line starts to die down, and the opener is on or whatever, and for some reason, like, I'm just unable to do this plan. Like, I'm just not able to. I feel like we're gonna get caught. And my big fear was, I didn't want to get in trouble to where they say like you have to leave the premises or something like that. I don't know. I've never been in this situation, so I didn't know if it could escalate that much, but whatever the case was, I was just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm just unable to do this. Like, I'm standing, like, right, because there were two people ready to check the tickets, and then you just go right in, but I was, like, standing, like, within the closed off area where that was, and I just wasn't able to. And so we literally wasted time trying to figure out a plan, wasted time formulating the plan, wasted time executing the plan. Another like 10 to 15 minutes of us just standing there. It was so ridiculous. I'm like, why are we just standing here? Why are we just standing here? This makes no sense. So eventually, I just say, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. Let's just get in the line for the no ticket thing. Or let's just see like what's going on in the back area. So I take my friend back there, and I'm like, aren't these people like so awesome? Like maybe we should like just hang out here. And she's like, maybe. She's not sure though, and I totally get that. Like from her perspective, you're basically saying we're not gonna get in. And even though we had other stuff planned, like again, that was like a really main theme of this. She was stressing herself out flying in that day, trying to make it on time for that. And for that concert. Otherwise, she would have just, not gone through all this. Oh my gosh, this is almost over, I swear. So, I remember after that, we just get in the line. And at this point, this line is long. Like, I mean, it's at least probably like 20 people deep, like before us. And also, the concert has started, so love that. And sorry, I'm hungry. If you heard my stomach growling, but yeah, I had showed her the back area, and she was just like, "No, let's just like try again." And I'm like, "Okay." So we wait, but I'm like, I don't want to like wait here because first of all, I was here before any of these people were here. Like this line started forming like around 5 or 6 p.m. and I was here at like 2 something. And so what happens? And then I'm not even going to get into the story because it's a whole other thing, but this whole very unfortunate, most likely like racist kind of thing happens. And someone actually did try and advocate for me because, like I just said, I was there since like 2. It was someone who worked at the venue tried to advocate for me, but I'm not going to get into all the details of it. But he was trying to get me to be able to go in, and unfortunately, like, yeah, that wasn't working in either of our favors. And the theme here in this particular part of the story is sometimes the Lord has to make us uncomfortable for us to actually move, for us to actually submit to Him, unfortunately. Like, He doesn't want it to come to that. He gave me plenty of chances to, at the very least, seek Him. But it wasn't until I was faced with the stress of the day, for myself and for my friend's sake, for me waiting outside all this time, being cold, all this stuff, hungry, literally facing racism, and my eyes are like welling up with tears because I'm like, what are the chances that this is like how this is panning out? Literally, it took that for me to say, I don't. And the other thing was, since I was there so early, I had recognized some of the other people in the line, and I had said that I had become kind of this ambassador for trying to find tickets for people. Cause I was like, well, people would come up to me and ask me like, "Do you have a ticket?" And I'm like, "No, unfortunately, I'm actually in the same position. So, but if I hear anything, I'll let you know." Because I was like, and it goes back to the thing about you don't need to tell anyone that you don't have a ticket. Oh my gosh. that was pressed on my heart, but I did not eat that. But anyways, so there were people in the line who had gotten out of their like positions in line that were like behind me because I was there so much earlier, who were asking me for a ticket, and they were first in this newly formed line, and they were not willing to advocate for me because there was a point where someone had said like who was here first because of the person who was trying to advocate for me. None of them would advocate for me, even though I like they knew that I had been there. But they wouldn't, and so that and just like all this stuff was happening, and so like I almost started crying, like, and I was willing to give up, and I said, I'm going to the back. Let's just go to the back. If you don't want to go to the back, that's fine. I'm going to the back. So I go to the back. Lo and behold, all the people who were there, like those 7 or 8 or 9 people who were there, were gone. The concert is like maybe like half over at this point, and I'm like in tears, and I want to blame God. And I'm like, okay, so let me get this straight. They're all gone. So, sorry. There's only a few possible scenarios here. 1, they all got kicked out. Unlikely. 2, they all just said, we're not hanging out here. We're done. We're going somewhere else. Unlikely because they said they would not be leaving. Or 3, they all got in. They all somehow got in. Whether it was because of the meeting with the artist, that they had that interaction, or whatever the deal was, I don't know. I didn't ask. They all got in. So I look to my friend, and we both start almost like laughing because we're like, this is so crazy. Like, we literally kept talking, or I kept mentioning it, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, we can't do anything right. And I'm like, girl, you're telling me. Like, I was so shocked and just like, you know, wow. And skipping ahead a little bit, oh no, I'll mention that maybe later, but so I'm pretty upset at this point. I'm like, I was content with staying back there, thinking that that group was back there and they would lift my spirits and it would be fine. But at this point, I'm like, let's just go get something to eat. I'm done. I'm going to cry. Let's just go. But before, like, I feel like I was about to open my mouth to say that. But before I could even get to there, I recognized that I don't recognize the song that's playing. And it sounds really, really pretty. And it's just, it really, like, captures me for a second. Because I can hear it very well. And I'm like, what song is that? And I was, like, really, like, shocked by it. Because I also, like, I had, like, known most of this artist's work. So I was like, what is this that I do not know? And my friend leans into the door to try and listen to it and then tell me. And as she's doing that, I look up and I go, Lord, this is not what you promised me. And at that moment, I start to grab her because I can see that the doors are like swinging open, like out of nowhere. And they open up, and unfortunately it was because someone was having an emergency and they needed to leave. They had went out the other door and the security had opened another. And when that opens, like, I'm so close to losing it, even more so than before, because I can see the concert. I'm making eye contact with the artist. I'm like ready to like just lose it, because I'm just like, I should be in there, like, it's right there, like, I'm hurting. and the door closes, the one door that the other people left. And I was just like shocked because I'm like, what just happened? Like, how did that happen? Like, that happened immediately after I prayed, and I'm like trying to get her out of the way because I'm like, girl, you're gonna get hit. And and then there's a security guard, yeah, holding open the other door, and I'm like, I kind of want to ask, but I can't even bring up the strength to even ask at that point. I was just like, it's fine, I'm done. And he closes it about halfway, or maybe even a little more. And all of a sudden he stops. And I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. And he looks at us and he goes, thank you guys for helping. Come on in. And we're like looking at each other. And we're looking at him. And we're looking at each other. We're like, what? and he starts to repeat himself. And I jolt in there. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, what just happened? I could not. I was so happy. And the theme of that is when God tells you, when the Lord speaks, you listen. When he has something, he has something. You can do whatever you want to try and derail it. You might delay it. It might be the biggest blessing and you might delay it. But it will still come to pass. What he says still will come to pass. So, I love that. But, yeah, there were a lot of little themes here. And, later on, when the concert had finished, I had seen, like, one of the people who was in that back area, and I was so, like, shaken up by everything. I don't even really remember what she said, but I said, like, hey, like, how'd you get in? Like, and I should have asked, like, when did you get in and all of that, but I'm inclined to believe that they got in, like, at the beginning of the show, and also they were in, because it was such a small venue, they were in the back-ish, kind of, but still, like, I mean, you could see the stage very clearly, you could see the artist very clearly, like, it was, like, had I listened? I'm so, like, irritated with myself thinking about this, but it's fine, we trudge along, but, is that the word? Tread? Maybe it's tread, I think it's tread, but, yeah, there were a lot of themes in this story, but my throat is sore, so I'm gonna finish now, but just, when the Lord speaks, you listen. When the Lord speaks, you listen. When the Lord speaks, you listen. And I just like reflect back on that, and I'm like, wow. He was there with me the whole time, even when I messed up. So this is for someone who thinks they messed up and the Lord won't forgive them or anything like that. Like, no, like, you can still mess up. He would have seen me disregarding the thing about the back door, maybe as ignorance, but also maybe as pride, and maybe as definitely when I started like putting my like faith in getting the ticket and this other person and all of that, like, that was me totally taking my eyes off of him. But he still was there with me. Like, that's the beautiful thing. Like, he still didn't abandon me. He still made a way. And I know, like, just in closing, a lot of people, if you just heard the last part of that, you might think, like, you know, how can you give credit to God for that? Like, that's not him. But you didn't see, you have to listen to the whole thing if you think that was not God. The A, B, getting me from point A to B to C to D, that, oh God, I had nothing to do with it, because I didn't really, there were multiple times where I was like, hey, I want to go to this concert, but I don't think it's gonna happen. I want to make these plans, but this is very stressful. I'm okay with letting this go. Another theme actually just came to mind is that sometimes we have this idea that, oh, this is so last minute or chaotic or messy or whatever. It's not. There's no way this is from God. False. In my experience, the Lord has come through the most during chaos. Like, it's like he uses that and he's like, all right, let me roll up my sleeves and get to work. Like, let me show you what I'm about. Like, that has been a very common theme for me. It's very rarely that things seem to play out so, like, smoothly, no issues or anything like that. Maybe for his glory, or maybe just, I don't know why, maybe it's just because I'm messy, I don't know, but that has been a very, very, very common theme for me in my life and my walk with the Lord, that he works through the chaos and he is in the details. Amen and hallelujah. And so, yeah, I don't know, this was 100% God. I had nothing to do with it. There were times I didn't want anything to do with it. I could have easily just thrown in a towel, easily just said, you know what, I'm good. Like I say, even at the moment when he was going to provide the miracle, and he used an unfortunate situation, the person, like, I think had passed out or something like that. He used an unfortunate situation to still have his name be glorified, and that is one very beautiful thing about our Lord, is that nothing is wasted. Someone was saying this, like, those years that you've been waiting, that pain, that whatever, it's not going to be wasted. He's going to use that for his glory. If for no other reason, this time that I'm here where I'm not as productive as I would like to be, I guess by the worldly standard, although that really shouldn't matter to me. At the very least, it's given me a place to speak here where this is for his glory. This is something that can be used beyond my own circumstances, and I feel so incredibly blessed. I forgot about that, and I feel incredibly blessed for that to be the position where I'm at, but for no other reason for that. But when I tell you, yeah, that could have easily been me just giving up, easily been, there was nothing. It wasn't like I really did much other than just trust in him, and a few, like, hack job of planning some things, and that was all him. All glory be to him. And yeah, so this is the story of how God got me into a concert that was sold out and just a very exclusive event. And yep, that's it.